Good afternoon. We are so happy to be with you today. We have a very, very special guest. Well, first of all, this is Be Good Daily, where we give cannabis news, culture, and community. We're really big on sharing, just different ways for people to be able to get into the cannabis industry. And along the way, we have met so many incredible people. I'm so happy that we have a wonderful sister that is coming to the stage. A little bit about her. Her name is Tiffany Yarde. She's the CEO of Shoki, which is a premium beverage cannabis drink company that is a lifestyle brand. They also have spirit-free cocktails, mixers, companions, all powered by cannabis. She's also the owner of Motovino, and I know she'll correct me saying that as well, a wine education platform that was created based on a decade of experience designing operations, strategies, and marketing principles for global companies in the legal sector. So today we're going to learn about how you can go from wine to cannabis and build your business. I'm so happy to be bringing on to the stage the CEO and the founder, Miss Tiffany Yarde of Shoki Beverages.
Hey, so glad to be with you, Joy.
There she is. I'm so happy that you're with us today. I know we had a little time talking backstage, and it was so good to see you because it's been minutes.
Yes. Listen, I rolled up on you. I think what was it? Sometime I forget what years now. What 2 years ago? I had a bag. We had some napkins. We were throwing out ideas, talking a bunch of shit, and then literally, excuse my French. And listen, we family, we talking. And I pulled out a Shoki bottle out my purse, and you were like, "Girl, something in there?" I'm like, "Yes, you want a drink?" You were like, "What are you gonna do with that?" And again, here we are 2 years later.
You blew me away. I want to share this about you before we jump into questions and get into the interview. I've met a lot of people. I have not met people like you with your energy, with your love, with your passion for the business. And there was something about you where I was like, yo, she's a winner. I don't know what direction she's going in, but she's a winner because you.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you. I received that.
You're at the bar. I remember like yesterday, it was Seattle Center. You called me, you're like, hey, I'm here in Seattle. And I was like, what is this girl doing? So we had a conversation and you were telling me like, no, I'm going to do this business. This is what I've been doing. I have a cannabis drink company. This is how we've been making it. I've been, doing this and that. And I was just like, I was blown away and I was inspired because if you don't know, during that time when we connected, I was at a point where I was like, man, I'm done with this cannabis.
You were, I'm over it. I'm over it. And we sat there with a napkin and we were like, nope, we got ideas. There's still things that we need to do. There's still things that you can do. And I gave you the whole spiel that I'm still giving you today as a pioneer. You are the reason so many of us still see a light at the end of the tunnel. You aren't allowed to give up because, as the great Tyler Perry said, you have no idea how many blessings are tied to your dream and who it will impact. And so there's so many people behind you, girl. You can't give up. We're depending on you. And that's a privilege and a responsibility. You're great. Come on. With greatness comes that responsibility. So it's heavy, it's crazy, but I see no one greater, no one more worthy. You're amazing. I love you.
Thank you, Tiffany. You're too kind. I stand on the shoulders of other people before me. So I'm very honored to be, where I'm at. So let's talk about you. This show is about you. This is about Shoki Beverages. This is about Tiffany Yarde. This is about Black Girl Magic. This is about you. So tell the people, give us a little insight about your background, how you got started, and go as far deep as like the wine industry and just growing up.
Yeah, so, wine became a passion in my early 20s. That was because, for the most part, what ended up happening was, I worked in the legal sector. I was B2B. So you think, toll roads in Mozambique, Chilean railway, you're thinking securities litigation, when major companies are fighting over patents. I was part of those deal teams that wrote the proposals and helped prepare attorneys for success. And so, I spent most of my career helping middle-aged white men make a lot of money. And so, you learn a lot about the way the world works. And when you're like, 25 years old, walking into some of these rooms, how do you relate to people? How do you gain their trust? How do you make them see you as a thought leader, respect you as a person, and then navigate the microaggression, the assumptions, the biases, and still go home every day and still have the energy to show up, right? And so, spending a lot of time doing that, wine became my thing. It became the way for me to help people see the world the way I did. It's one thing to walk into a room and talk about sports, which wasn't my thing. But, a 25-year-old girl talking about Bordeaux, all of a sudden you've got a few heads turning and they want to now hear you. They want to get to know you. And so because of that, I say, wine's going to be my thing. And I want to teach other people how to do it. Especially, I think about diverse candidates of young lawyers coming through the ranks, them knowing what it means to become partner, and me seeing so many people come through that, because the only time an attorney really hung out with me in those days was if they were a partner or they were up for partner, and then we'd be working on business development together. And so, I didn't see enough of my people in those roles. And so because I was kind of like that person behind the curtain, I knew what it took, for them to get there. And I wanted to share that. And so I wrote a book called How to Wine with Your Boss, to learn how to use the language of wine and some professional development skills to unpack it, get to the cheat code so you can win and level that damn playing field. So that's been my thing for over now 12 years, and so I still do some diversity work for some places. And, that's also my other life, which pretty much up until this point has funded this life. So, all that to say, Beverage became that for me. And everyone knows me. I make fantastic cocktails. I make great limoncello. I soak down my lemon peels and sitting in these high-proof spirits. I give it out in the holidays. So I've been always into drinks and food as a general matter, right? So I had worked 26 weekends back in 2017, 27 weekends according to my records. And I was burned out. I hopped on a plane, honey. I hopped on a plane to Ghana to celebrate one of my really wonderful best friends. She had just launched another company on the continent. And so I went out there to spray champagne for my nipples, okay? So let's be clear. And so I did not expect to come home with a business plan. But my relentless curiosity for people and life and passion for people, it's another reason why I got into wine too, because once I started teaching people about wine, it gave me an opportunity to listen to them, to spend time hearing what they cared about, what they didn't care about, and what really motivated their buying patterns. I wasn't representing brands directly, but I can always see what people really wanted when they were purchasing. And it's like, oh, interesting. So a lot of those tips and things I picked up from narratives and hearing what really drove them to that middle rack, what drove them to a certain label, all was subliminally just being, I guess, stored up in my subconscious to me, to the point where I knew what to say to help a person, find what they were looking for through wine, right? And so you transfer that to now, fast forward back to that plane ride, heading into Ghana, having the best time of my life. When as far north as Kumasi, came down to Cape Coast and spent half the time at Accra. So almost a month, and I come back and I met in my travels who became my co-founder, George Ahuesi. Shout out to George. I think he might actually be tuned in. We met at a bar and through a big group of friends. And at the time, picked up a conversation, chatting it up, and he's like, "Yo, Tiff, I make drinks." I'm like, "No, you don't. I make drinks." So, fast forward, and he said, I really was thinking about how to really differentiate, and maybe adding some type of new spice, some new local indigenous roots or herbs to really make it special. I really want to make it international. And so, we started putting our heads together. And I said, we're going to stay in touch. We're going to figure some stuff out. I see what you want to do, and all I'm here to, I'm someone who executes, okay? And so I'm passionate about seeing things through. And so when I got home, I couldn't shake the idea. Got a bunch of my friends together. We got on these Zoom calls, trying stuff out, figuring things out. And before you know it, long story short, Shoki was born. And, at that time, I didn't know shit about cannabis. The most I knew about it was, my little friend who knew a friend and how to get a little something in New York. So all that to say, what ended up happening was, hopped on a flight to Denver, met up with some of my wine friends there, and they were like, Tiff, wait, shouldn't you be studying for your next level, WSET or maybe the CSW exam? Tiff, hello, what are you doing? I'm like, no, weed is it. I'm telling you, I'm about to put it in these drinks. I'm about to hit these streets. We've been trying to figure it out in the kitchen. I know what I think I want to do. George is a fantastic co-founder. I know how. I'm telling you, I was crazed.
Right.
And from a very conservative circle of professionals, they were trying to figure out what the hell is Tiff up to now. And I couldn't shake it. I knew I saw it. And so, from that point on in 2018, we knew we wanted to bring cocktails to the market. We wanted it to be for the Afro-Caribbean diaspora. And we wanted it to pay homage to the heritage that raised us and to taste like things that, again, we don't have to be apologetic about. We don't have to be reduced to just, the ethnic aisle in a supermarket. To really expand people's palates and to introduce them to things that, again, brings the vibe. And so Shoki was born because of, and so, that's kind of how we got going. And it's in the early days, so get me started, Joy, because I won't shut up. I'm gonna tell you, in the early days, there were people laughing us out of rooms. My family immigrated to America from Barbados in the 70s. And so, I've got one foot in the Caribbean and one foot in America. So drugs as a conversation was not even allowed in our household because, when you're going through the naturalization process, at the end of the day, anything can trip you up. Deportation is a real thing, especially if, again, you're trying to make a life here for your family, yourselves, people you want to bring with you once you settle. And so I've had that stigma most of my life. And so having to unpack that, that's really kind of been the big eye opener for me in all of this, the power of cannabis, the healing power of cannabis. And so it's been a really, really interesting ride of how much I've learned about myself and the people who make up this industry.
Right. That's amazing. I learned something new about people every time. I did not know that story, and that's phenomenal. I knew a little bit, but that's amazing. I think the question, how the name Shoki, like where's that? Where was that birthed? Like,
I wish it had some music. So my middle brother, because I'm actually one of 6 children, and so my middle brother, he's a producer. He makes fantastic Caribbean beats, and he has a few artists, and he's been really trying to elevate the soca scene. From a Caribbean standpoint. And so he made this fantastic beat for Shoki, which is, I can't wait to drop this summer. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. But this name Shoki was part of that scene of the Afrobeat scene. So you think Burna Boy, and of course you think Davido, and all these phenomenal artists. And at that time in 2017, the biggest dance, well, not the biggest, probably one of the biggest, was the Shoki. And so you pick it up, hey, you're going for it with your friends, right? And so that name at that time meant so much to me because I was in the club doing this. I told you I had a good time. So George was like, let's go with Shoki. Come on, let's do this. And so we kept going. And so also, once we got through the process, we learned that Shoki was also Japanese for demon killer. And let me tell you, this world is covered in demons and covered in this fight for territory. People that are, again, in and out of this industry who, again, aren't fair, aren't organized. And we're here to slay all of that and to create space for the people, again, that are here to amplify and really take this industry to the next level. And so that is, how Shoki name was born, from the experience, from that time. And it was just a capsule of joy. I say when your feet touch the soil of the continent, you feel so connected, and it's so true. And again, as Caribbean people, when you think about from the period of the slavery period, and thinking about where many of us were, again, enslaved, placed into the Caribbean, those of us who got dropped in America, those who got dropped in South America. End of the day, when we think about West Africa, specifically sub-Saharan West Africa, major ports, the souls of our ancestry that, again, scattered across the world, how we lived on, the eternal aspect of our energy, who we are, and how it passed down. I mean, it's insane what you reconnect to when you return. It's amazing, honestly.
Wow. Shoki, besides it just being a name, it has so many different layers to it. And the meaning, and the connection, and unapologetically Black, and just
talk about it,
right? Everything. Tell me about this, because we talked about this a little bit. what type of challenges do you feel like you have navigated and endured during, launching this company? And then particularly as a Black woman, right? Launching this company and what that looks like, just some of the challenges that you might have to deal with day to day.
Yeah, I think about the Black woman in one specific environment, because then you could take this into so many different directions. But the intersectionality of being Black and woman creates so many nuanced, levels of trauma that you have to, again, you may carry from your professional life, growing up in certain communities, learning to love yourself, communicate, trying to figure out where you fit, figure out where's your power, defining yourself, having others define you, and really kind of feeling like who are you? There's this tension. And so, navigating this space, especially in an industry so nascent, right? There aren't like systems and structures in place to, again, keep certain things in line, typical things that go into a handbook, what you can and can't do, what you shouldn't do, those things aren't really there. And so I'll say that walking into certain boardrooms and being laughed out of them, drinks, what the hell is that? Flower is king. Who are you? What's your background? Where'd you come from? Thinking about, do you have a background in cannabis at all? Like, what generation grower is in your family? Or even worse questions like, what makes you think you're qualified to even be in this space? And I'm like, the damn thing's new. Who are you? I think you spend 6 months in this industry, you're a freaking expert, and the damn thing's growing in real time. Like, the reality of it, and the audacity, I will say, even in investor circles, not all, just some. I was invited to certain meetings or certain presentations, or allowed to present to certain things, and they would say, oh, by the way, there isn't any type of discounts, and I'm like, who asked you if I needed a fucking discount? Yeah. And so all that to say, there's so many levels of bias that you have to navigate. Or, I show up to an event and I'm setting up, I'm going to be pouring my own shit up. Absolutely. I'm here to work. I'm very humble. But at the same time to say, oh, are you with a promotional company? And it's like, well, I have people here with me, but they deserve respect too. They're here working for $1. Absolutely. Oh, where's the owner? You're looking at her. Your energy is crazy. Like, who are you? Again, just navigating so much of that. And I think it's the microaggressions hurt the most because they're so subtle. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. But again, I come from corporate, and so navigating those spaces, being able to have some tough skin is one thing, but to also put your stake in the sand, like, this is where you stop. I have boundaries, and when you cross them, I'll let you know. And again, your choice how you deal with me after that, but I can only control what again I will allow. And so that's kind of what that is. And I think it can really turn you off from this space, the level of unprofessionalism in certain circles in this industry, because it's so new. There's so many people in it who may not have the same, skills or people skills or capacity to communicate with respect. And, I think there's a lot of that, and sexism. And I mean, listen, there's stories I've heard in this industry from women and how they've been made to feel by men it's heartbreaking. And so I say all that to say there's more of us in this space who can fight for us, who can help create space with us. And that's what matters. Again, you can only grow forward. And if you don't stay in the fight, then who's fighting? You're letting him win. So you can't do that. You don't have that option.
No, absolutely. One thing that's so interesting, because people always ask us, well, what does it feel like being one of the few in the industry that look like you? And I tell them,
it's heavy.
It's different of being Black in America. Like, it's no different, right? Or we get the question, well, how'd you guys learn how to do this? How'd you guys learn how to do a farm? I'm like, well, we're not that dumb. We know how to read, right? And we can run, we can walk and talk at the same time. And it's really interesting because people are just so fascinated, right? It's just so fascinated, right? I think one of the questions, as we kind of switch gears here, are people have been asking, because, when I said that you would be on the show, people are like, oh, I got to support this sister. Tell us what type of drinks you have, right? Like, you sent me a mint, one of the mint ones. And
I happen to have a few bottles with me right here.
And the mint was phenomenal. I actually gave it to Paula Sardinas, who is the commissioner here in Washington State, who's been big about social equity. And she's right now in the comments saying, hey, that the drink was phenomenal. And let me tell you, Paula knows.
Hey, Paula, thank you for the support. Shout out to Paula, all the great work.
And she said it was amazing. So walk us through like the product line, what you have, like lay it out there.
Yeah, so right behind me is our long form. So long form has been out since last October. Can you believe, Joy? You know, from the time we spoke to the time we turned on our first kettles in Northern California, when we turned them on, it was February. Then the pandemic hit. And then everything got hella crazy. Couldn't find caps, couldn't get enough bottles in, couldn't get, you know, anything delivered on time. It was a disaster. And then we were still trying to figure out our distribution strategy because we had so many interviews going and no one felt like the right fit for what I knew would help take a beverage brand to the next level. Again, I came from the wine space, so I understood the 3-tier system. And so, you know, when you're growing grapes and you think about becoming a winemaker, what ends up happening is you can't just sell to the typical consumer. Your wine, your alcohol has to go to a distributor. That distributor decides where it goes after that. So whether it's a store for you to purchase and take it home, whether it's at a restaurant for you to enjoy on premise. Now those distributors become gatekeepers. And so getting with the right one would determine how far your reach is with that product. And so trying to find someone who spoke the same language we did, had the same hunger and drive that we did. Because again, it's hard when you're the only one pushing or pulling that sleigh, you know what I'm saying? So you need people just as activated as you, just as passionate about your product. And so as you were shopping Shoki around to find that partner, you know, that's what kind of, again, got us to that September, October 1 first placement into stores. And that was a cycle, 2020. And so in 6 months, this product behind us made it as far north as Humboldt and as far south as Palm Springs. And we've only been on the market 6 months. So I can't say how thankful I am to just California. I mean, just the great people, the vibe that, listen, Tribe Shoki is here. We are taking, listen, to the world. Now back to this drink now. Let me tell you, our flavors hail from the diaspora. And so when you think the ruby spice flavor, which is available through our e-commerce store right now and soon to be on Amazon, shout out. We get this close and the store gets shut down for various stupid reasons. So we're getting through the hump. And again, that's our non-infused. The flavor is reminiscent of Sobolo, which is a great, fantastic local drink, also known as sorrel in my country, Barbados. And so, you know, you think of the hibiscus and the warm spices and that sweetness. Look, we are an indulgent, you know, unapologetic brand for the fun. So Christmas time, you're making sorrel in the kitchen in a big old pot, adding your dark rum, and you're singing, you're paranging in our Caribbean vernacular called parang. You sing a bunch of Caribbean Christmas songs, and so you're sipping, you're enjoying. So we bottle that whole vibe into the flavor you know is ruby spice. And so the other is pineapple ginger. My grandma makes that. So the pineapple ginger is fresh grated ginger. So we've got machines that actually grind down all natural fresh ginger roots. So there's no syrups or anything weird going into this. Those end up in the kettles too. And then we have custom built filters that help, again, remove all the sediment when we're done. And so this is like making it at home, just at scale. And so all those spices, the warmth, all pumped into that pineapple, all natural juice. And so when we're in Barbados and you have go get yourself a fish cutter, which is basically a fish sandwich, you head down to the beach, sip your pineapple ginger drink and watch the sunset and vibe out. Like that's the energy that we pump into this. And those are just 2 flavors. The other, which again, all these flavors are more than meets the eye. We've got that touch of ginger again in the mint with a hint of rosemary and a bit more of some cooler, more floral spices. So that's the energy. Last but not least, passion fruit is coming to town, hopefully by May. We're excited, fingers crossed, we can get all of our production scaling capacity up to snuff because our line originally was, again, meant to create pilot products, get it out to the market. The market would tell us what we want. We're here for the people. So if you say, hey, Tiff, I like this, you know, but I'm not sure if I like this size. Give it to me smaller so I can take it down to the beach. All right, we're going single serve. Simple as that. And that's, I think, is so important for people to know about Shoki, is that we're listening. What you want, we want to deliver. We're here for you. If there's a flavor or a vibe that you're looking for, let us talk to us about it. Let's make it together, and let's kind of just fit into your lifestyle, fit into the way that you enjoy fun, not the other way around. And of course, comes with the buzz, right? So imagine a flavor first company now adding the buzz of cannabis, which is, again, like being kissed by the sun. The giggles for most of the night, that belly laugh from the best joke from your best friend, that's what the vibe is like, because it's at 2.5 milligrams of THC per ounce. You can make the drinks your own. We partner with some fantastic mixologists out of San Diego. Shout out to Saeed of Cocktails by Hawk. He is phenomenal. That man loves hip hop, and he's made some hip hop recipes for us in the last year, and he's fallen in love with our products too. And I think that's what matters too, because when you drink it and you understand our why and what you're drinking, it goes beyond the regular stuff, or things that you're just so predictable. It actually engages your senses. And that's what Shoki's trying to do.
That's amazing. What's interesting is that, did you always start out wanting to do the cannabis drink, or wanting to do, without the infuse, like just the regular mix where people could infuse their own thing? Or did you branch off and do that?
I branched off. Great question. See, Joy, you ask all the right questions. Let me tell you, you're the first person to ask that. I appreciate you for that. We started out as a cannabis beverage. We wanted to bring a cannabis beverage to market. Now, when we did that, we recognized that the limitations of how the U.S. is set up is that state by state, you can't leave any state with a cannabis product. So from a business building perspective, unless you plan on spending tens of thousands of dollars in every state that you decide to make this product in, you're never going to make money. So, you put your stake in the sand, pick a state where you have a fit. You've got people, you've got a support network, people that you can lean on. Because again, there's no way to be in this business alone. You will never succeed. It's too crazy, and you'll feel it's madness. The weight of this industry is too hard to take on alone, and you shouldn't. So all that to say, when we went into the non-infused, it's because we were flavor first anyway. We made the drink and then added the cannabis after, because we wanted to create a semblance of a buzz. Because what happens is, or you're making, say, sorrel, you make your drink, get the big pot out, get everything in it, you add your rum after. And so adding that kind of shot of cannabis into it created, again, that cocktail experience. Now, the non-alcoholic, at the end of the day, was for the kiddies. So you wouldn't add the falernum. You wouldn't add the dark rum for the kids. You just pour it out, put a little orange slice, and they think they're having a drink with the grannies too. And it was fun, honestly, mocktails isn't exactly anything new, in the sense of it's what the kids drink at Thanksgiving. They have their fun drink too, and of course the music's blaring, someone's doing beats in the kitchen, and, like that's the Caribbean Christmas. And so, all that to say, because we have the non-alcoholic, because it's flavor first, it's really for the states where there isn't weed. For you to experience the diaspora.
I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Girl, I'm talking. Please cut me off.
Can I get a Shirley Temple, please? You thought she was doing it. Can I get a virgin strawberry daiquiri? Thank you.
Okay. Get me started. And that's a great point you raised too.
I used to do that all the time. My grandmother used to take me out to go to get drinks, and she'd be like, I'm gonna have a drink. You can have a virgin strawberry daiquiri. And I thought I was 9 years old. I had my little glass. I was like, hey, grandma. I'm curious to know what is your favorite flavor that you guys produce, and then what's the fan favorite that everybody is like, yo, this is fire?
So my favorite is Ruby Spice. And because it has such a personal relationship to just my memories growing up, we make sorrel in my house. And it's always around Christmas time, special occasions, summer barbecues. And there was always, Mount Gay rum not far away. And so, that's why it's my favorite, I think, because it's so near and dear. And I watch my mom and my grandma. I've so many, me sometimes in the kitchen making it too. So it's like, it has that personal, again, touch for me. But hands down, most popular in the streets is the pineapple and mint.
Really?
Yeah, the pineapple and mint are it. They're it. Because, when we do sampling to just stores and for them to get a feel for what the product is, and we're trying to convince them that we want a slot in your store, please welcome us. The favorite, hands down, is usually the pineapple or the mint. But I will say, Shoki has the backbone of ginger in everything. All our flavors have this vein of ginger. It may be different intensities depending on the mix. But one thing about us as Shoki is that, again, we are who we are. And so if you're not a ginger person, at the end of the day, we might convince you. But we really are here for the ginger lovers who, again, want to reimagine it in different ways. Listen, we put ginger in our chicken stews. We rub down ginger on some of our fish. Like, at the end of the day, depends on the recipe. And again, gingers are really a mainstay in African and Caribbean households as it relates to food production. So, I can't say I will never not love ginger. So that's to say about that with regard to the flavor. But that's how we roll.
And then, what's interesting is you said something that I thought was really fascinating. You said it took you 6 months, right? Which is a very short time for a beverage company to get up and running. And you're thinking about packaging, design, labeling, finding the right tops, getting the right glass bottle, right?
Making me tired.
Getting liability insurance, trying to figure out who our distributors are, what stores are we going to be in. I mean, that is a lot.
Okay.
In the hell did you figure out? And how many SKUs did you have at the time? 4, 3?
We have 4 SKUs, of which 2 were turned on, and we're working on the last 2 to turn on. So having to have 4 commercial recipes ready to go, and having those suppliers sourced, and knowing, do they have capacity? Can they handle delivery? Are they up to GMP standards? All of that goes into, because again, we make products that are passable by the FDA, as a flavor first product, which is why it was easy to pivot to the non-alcoholic, because where we started. The cannabis was added to create that experience. And so all that to say, it takes a lot when you're thinking about beverage. Food production, period. Not only do you have to think about, like you said, the packaging, that brand eye experience, but what the heck's going in it. And if you're someone running your own kitchen, you have to get, your food safety certifications, out of which I did. And, someone who didn't have a background in this, I was learning in real time in 2018 and 2019, asking questions, figuring out, what would a kitchen need to look like? Who can I partner with? That is the most important thing, I think, that a lot of people miss, is not taking the time to not look for partners. I think folks get so caught up in their ideas that they think, all right, I'm going to go do this. I don't care how it may kill me to get there, whatever. Pause. Look for the good people. Now, Joy, I'm a woman of faith. And so at the end of the day, when I think about an idea, there's nothing new under the sun. If it came to me, I'm supposed to be the steward of it. It's my privilege to drive it forward. And so with that said, if that vision I have, and I can't communicate effectively to someone else, it's not ready yet. It ain't fully baked. I should be able to tell you exactly what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. And if you're inspired by it, you may very well come along for the ride with me. And now I've got a partner. That, I think, is where people sometimes don't spend enough time in that incubation period, because it could be very frustrating and a very lonely place as you're trying to figure out what it is you want to do. I was blessed enough to have George day one, because he said, Tip, I think I have something I want to do. And I said, I see it. And so he hadn't taken it to any level yet. But again, he found the right partner and things started moving. And so I say all that to say, you can figure out packaging with the right graphic designer. That graphic designer, if they're quality, can see your vision. If you made it plain, made it clear, and they can help you manifest it into the thing that you've been dreaming of. Getting inside it, what that product is, you got to get with a food scientist. At the end of the day, if you're looking to really compete and to bring your product out of, the fantastic world of those farmer markets and, places where you can actually sell homemade food legally. If you want to take this to another level, it's got to be commercial grade. What does that look like? You have to have the food scientist. You have to actually give them the kitchen recipe, walk you through what it means to be shelf stable, what it means to have it, healthy to consume, and then of course, finding a packager. We couldn't find a packager at our budget. We were just getting started. A big mistake that I would never make, and because again, I come from the B2B world and I've seen so many companies come and go and their whys and why certain, I was lucky and blessed enough to have that vantage point. What ended up happening was knowing that many companies go full on, throw tons of cash at something, throw it out to the market when it's perfect. And then the market says, pooh, and now you're out of money. Like, it's the biggest, and it's like, when you're so passionate about it, you sometimes lose sight of who you're trying to serve. Get into this business, be prepared to serve and see the goodness in that. And don't think you're better than anybody. Get in there to serve. You are here to create products to meet someone's need. Does your product meet a need beyond your ego? And so that is, the first place. And so once we did all of that, it was trying to find a partner who would help us find a kitchen that we could outfit with our own products, our own equipment, minimum viable line, as I call it in our tribe, or what we call it, where it can pump out a couple thousand units, and we can get something out to the market and listen. What do they want? What do they like? What don't they like? All right, we don't like that. Let's try something different, and have that agility and in a reasonable budget with the money that you've pooled together with your co-founders to get something that can get you started. Then you take that story and you tell people what the hell you're doing, how you're doing it, and that traction helps you grow and expand. But again, you can't do that alone.
Absolutely. As I'm listening, one question comes to mind. If you feel, what would be one thing? Let me rephrase it. And no, I'm not drunk, anyone. I'm just drinking tea. Okay.
There'll be no judgments here. No judgments.
All right. So, but I'm thinking, if you could go back and maybe do one thing differently, or tell yourself, okay, hey, don't worry about this. Maybe navigate here, whatever. What would that one thing be? Or maybe it's two things, but what would that be potentially?
Ooh, this is a hard one.
And this was not on the list, so I threw this at you.
I appreciate it. I will say this one thing I would tell myself is, Tiff, you're not a failure. I think that is a narrative that, the entrepreneur's journey. I think I remember in a meme somewhere on LinkedIn, and it was literally just, this line chart, and like depending on the day, it was who you were that day. Were you feeling good? You feel like you tackled everything. My idea is amazing. I'm doing wonderful. Crap, everyone hates me. Oh, that presentation went crap. And before you know it, you walk into a room and someone says, I hate your idea. It's not going to go anywhere. Oh my God, who am I? What am I doing? Am I in the right place? And I think in the early days, I had all of that energy, and I was able to say, I'm okay. I believe in this. I know it. And I never lost that. But when you go through the motions and you're on your fifth iteration of a particular flavor, and you're going through the lab testing of giving tasters the opportunity to tell you and give you feedback, and they're all saying, this is not going to make it. This is way too ethnic. Yes, honey. And so you're sitting there like, oh my God, why am I doing that? What is happening? What is this? And then you're seeing all these big brands come out with more stuff every week, and all the things that they're doing isn't what you're doing. Are you going to make it? Oh my God, I've wasted my time. I wasted my money. I'm an idiot. I think I would give myself more grace and say, Tiff, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Chill. And to enjoy the early days, because I'm enjoying what I am doing now, but there's so much to do all the time that, I'm thankful that we're a good team. But I would say in the early days, you're not a failure. I would say, and again, we're still in our early days. We're just in a phase 2 of early days, and what scaling looks like for us, and that I would also say that it's okay to not know. I think that, especially, I think for me, and again, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I know people who may share the same story. You walk into a room and you see all the fancy titles and the who knows who and the clicks and the who likes who and the crews and all this stuff. And you walk in and you're like, oh man, I may not belong here. I am not going to fit in here. And no, or if they ask me a question, I have to have the answers. No, it's okay to not know.
Right.
Because most of the people are faking it anyway.
And I'd be like, ooh, and then an article come out, ooh. You know what's interesting? And we won't go into detail, but you know what's really interesting? I really resonated with what you said, to say that you're not a failure. Because I think people get caught up and they see Instagram and Facebook, oh, you guys are on this show, or I read this article about you. Oh, success, success, success. But they don't see all the no's. I mean, or all the failures. But failures is a part of the process, right?
Yes.
Just say, I took some product photos. I had everything looking good. I'm coming out with these candles. And I spelled lavender wrong on the front of the label. And I said, And that, I was so angry at myself. And, because I do my own graphic design, all that good stuff. And I learned how to use Adobe and stuff.
I've seen that. Listen, I remember that kitchen, girl. Listen. Before the big kitchen, I got to come by and check it out. But before that, remember, I hung out in your living room and I was like, girl, what you working on now?
It's what it was. I started my kitchen and people, oh, you're so successful. No. We started from the bottom and we're still at the bottom, just trying to navigate. I think that's so interesting. And I think the other thing too that I resonate with that you just said is a lot of people get caught up in, well, what are they doing? Well, what are they doing? Well, and trying to be everything for everybody else instead of just staying focused, tunnel vision. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Don't, they'll come and they'll go, but just be authentically you, be yourself, and have a passion for what you're actually doing. I could care less what anyone else is doing. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just staying true to who you are. And a lot of times, sometimes you might feel like I'm not moving fast enough. It's not going quick enough, right? And then you look back and you be like, oh, relax, right? Just relax. It's okay, right? Relax. Another question I have for you is, because a lot of people are in the comments asking, where can they find your product? Obviously we know online where you can get those non-cannabis drinks. And then you said, you'll be on Amazon shortly soon here, but where else can we get these drinks?
Yeah, so right now we are actually in the process of replenishing at Sava in San Francisco. We are also working to replenish at Doobie Nights up in Santa Rosa. We have not made it south enough into LA. We're working to get into LA. We have some fantastic stores that have pinged us and want to get started with us, and we're just ramping up our inventory. In full transparency, we're in a fundraising cycle. And we've been in it now for about 2 or 3 months and just looking for the right partners who see the vision, understand what we're trying to do, and know that we've got 3 other product types. The flagship Shoki behind you is just the beginning. We have so many ideas for the type of drinks and products we want to bring to market that, again, we're hoping in 5 years to be a portfolio of product, Black owned. And so hoping to bring as many people for the ride with us as possible. And so in between this gray period of still working and using our own money, we're trying to figure out what the scalability is and find the right partners to help us, again, for the funding for what we really want to do. And so with that said, we're only in very limited stores until then, because in our kitchen, our line, very small, few thousand units at a time. And so again, as we're working to get into the 10,000 to 20,000 units, or really entrench, that takes a lot more capital than what we have in our own. And so if anyone's listening and you want to support a Black-owned brand that's, again, tackling the beverage sector efficiently, intelligently, and with a wonderful team that wants to execute, reach out, please.
Because, you're phenomenal, first off.
Appreciate you. And love you so much. Oh, listen, you believed in me. You didn't laugh at me when I pulled a drink bottle out my purse. So...
why? Because my mama be pulling drinks out her purse. So I was like, oh my God, it didn't shock me. I was like, okay, she just like my mama. She puts everything in her purse. and you slammed that bottle down on that bar top. And I was like, this woman is crazy. I was like, okay. And she was like, and we're going to do Shoki, and we're going to do this, and we're going to be, and I already met with these investors, and they don't know what they're talking about because they told me no, but I don't even care because this is what we're doing. I was like, okay, yeah. Yeah. I know
all a no is a redirection to your next yes. That's all a no is. I
Amen.
take rejection with a grain of salt. Got to keep moving. If it's in you, it is yours to get it done. Don't stop.
Amen. And I also like how because I know when people hear God and cannabis, they're like, what? But it's about the person who you are, right? And you know, my mom always told me, you know, worrying is a lack of faith. You always have to have faith, no matter what, if you can see the next step, what it looks like, you always have to have faith. So that, you know, that resonated with me. I know we're wrapping up here and we're running short on time. I think the last question that I want to ask you, well, there's two. Okay. So the first one is, where do you see, and you answered it a little bit about Shoki, because I already have some ideas, like when you're like, oh, product line, and this is just the first, and I'm like, oh, I got ideas. Where do you think Shoki, and it's hard to say, oh, where to be in 5 years? Girl, where do you want to be in a year, right? Because this industry moves so fast. Where, you know, where do you want to be in a year? Or hell, 6 months, right? Where do you want to be?
Yeah, so I'll tell you this, because again, I do believe that, you know, I live life with intention, and I can save 5 years because I believe in if I put it out there, someone's going to hold me accountable, and the support will come. And so 5 years from now, we want to be in a position where we're in at least 5 to 10 states. And that's a big span because at the end of the day, it depends on this federal legalization play. Because again, 5 states makes sense for where we are right now as a nation. With again, most of everyone turned on, whether medically or recreationally. 10 would be wonderful because again, it would prepare us to be attractive to an acquisition or some type of larger partnership. Because our goal is to make it back to, you know, the continent, make it back into South Africa, make it into Europe, you know, make it into South America. Because again, our flavors are world flavors. They're world heritage flavors. And so all that to say, that's the dream in 5 years, to be to have an international footprint. What that looks like from a non-infused versus infused, we'll see how the world shakes out. But we're going to stay agile. But again, we are going to be entrenching in California in the next 6 months. The next year from now, coming into Washington State, coming into Nevada, and of course, making it back to the East Coast with a few different plays. And so that is the goal for the next, you know, into 2022. And again, those who want to get on the ride with us, the wild ride of what Tribe Shoki is trying to get done, that's the 5-year plan.
Awesome. And then our last question that I ask every guest, well, you the second guest, but we gonna be asking every guest, okay?
All right.
Is we always say, you know, be good to ourselves and be good to others. What is one thing that you feel like you were good to someone, and it could be this week, it could be to this day, like one thing you want to share with everyone that you were good with someone else?
I was good with my neighborhood. I'm a member of Community Board 9 in Brooklyn, New York. And I think what was really good was first convincing my grandparents, my uncles, and my aunts to get vaccinated. It is a really tough conversation when speaking to my African American community about, you know, the use of this, again, vaccine that was developed in less than a year, you know, to trust the government that has, again, perpetually abused the Black body through its entire history in various capacities, medically, from a societal perspective, systems and structures that, again, still plague our communities. With that said, to trust medicine enough to know that it's better than actually getting the damn virus, and it could save your life. Again, it makes your body strong enough to withstand it, so you can still be here for your family, still be here for those that love you and want to celebrate you. So that's the good that I think I've done, convincing my family first to get vaccinated, despite all of the conspiracy theories and the discussions and all the things. And then, of course, being part of some smaller groups of organizers to help get the word out, especially to communities like ours that aren't getting vaccinated as fast as our Caucasian other American citizens. It's crazy.
I hear you. Girl, I know. And then last but not least, let everybody know what website they can go to find you and how they can follow you on all social media handles.
Yes, so Tribe Shoki, TRIBESHOKI on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, www.tribeshoki.com to get on the mailing list, our mailing list, where we get all the information. We are in that transition period of what our next phase 2 is. So getting on the mailing list, make sure it keeps you in the know of what we're doing. So please get on the mailing list, because again, social media hit or miss, depending on what I post, might come down because it's cannabis. Look, I can't. So get on the mailing list.
Hey,
that's my PSA for the day.
Tiffany Yarde, the co-founder and CEO of Shoki Beverage Company, thank you. We really appreciate
Thank you. I'm coming to invade your state just now. We're going to hang out. We're going to live it up, honey. I owe you a visit. I cannot wait to see you and hug you, all the things. And of course, enjoy I wear my Hollingsworth Hemp t-shirt everywhere. So people, I rep all day. So again, I love you so much. So proud of you and your family. Again, what you do inspires us all. And again, it keeps us focused on that North Star, which is that finish line, that light in the tunnel, to keep going and being the representation that we want to see. Like you said, there's not enough of us. So I'm thankful.
I appreciate you. I thank you so much for being on the show. I know our listeners had a phenomenal time. I'm looking at the comments. It was phenomenal.
I hope so. I don't shut up. So please.
No, you're all good. Please go follow and support Tiffany. Phenomenal woman. And we'll be back next week on Wednesday. And we're so happy for our next guest. And then I also want to give a shout out. Arizona women's basketball is going to the Sweet 16. I'm looking at them. Obviously, it's my school, and I played there, so really happy for them. So bear down, everyone. Thank you, Tiffany. We will see you soon, and we can't wait to see Shoki, a world brand in 5 years, 10 years, wherever. Okay, 5 years.
5 years. Call it. Speak it.
Thank you so much. We appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you. Bye, everybody.